Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Yes, we are changing the world one woman at a time. We're changing this planet one woman at a time. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I get to introduce you to amazing women who inspire me, women that I admire. And my guest today is one of those women. Her name is Liz Wendling. Liz Wendling is a nationally recognized business and sales consultant and the author of 6 books and counting. Liz understands the sales challenges that business owners are facing when selling in today's crowded and competitive environment. She shows professionals how to make a profound difference in the way they sell and communicate online and offline. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I'm so glad you're here. Liz, I don't even remember where we met. She just feels like she's been in my life a really long time. She has coached me. She's one of the leadership coaches in the entrepreneurial program we have for women called AWE. And she's amazing. And her books are inspiring, funny, and right to the point. Because I don't, about anybody out there, but selling was a little bit of a thing for me. So, so welcome, Liz. Tell us how we can all sell and be happy.
Oh, I'd be happy to. And I met you because I watched you at church for years and years and years, and I got to witness your greatness firsthand. And then you and I met, I believe the first time we actually met and chatted was when we were in that mastermind together with TC.
Oh, right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I drove an hour each way to go to this luncheon, and we would do a mastermind. But I mean, everybody at that table was fabulous.
Fabulous, it was. And I was so happy to be in your presence and to get to know you. And something was brewing in in our conversation and in that meeting. And I just had a feeling one of these days you and I were going to do something together, and we are. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. So, can you talk about women in sales? Because one of the things when people come to me, it's like they've got great ideas and dreams and they want to do great stuff. And then they go, but I hate selling.
I hear that every day. They say, I love what I do, but I hate to sell. I love when I close a sale, but I hate what I have to do to close a sale. And they believe that selling is icky and gross or wrong, or there's something about it where they have to sell themselves to make a sale. And they hang their hat on that story that selling is bad and it's wrong. And they never say to themselves, well, maybe I can create something different, or why do I have to sell that way? There has to be other ways to sell than be icky and gross and sell like you're in the 1980s and 90s. And those are the women that I enjoy working with because they see another side. They know there's another way to step out in their sales conversations with strength and power and authenticity and confidence. And those are the women that are making great strides in their business. And they're not just surviving, they're thriving because they understand that sales are the only way for every business on the planet to stay in business. And if you resist the only thing that keeps you in business, it's going to be difficult to keep your business alive and afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to know where you came from. I don't think you dropped on the planet and said, okay, I'm going to be the consultant of life for sales. Where did you come from, and how did you get to be this consultant to help people understand the power of selling?
Well, I grew up in a household where I constantly heard my dad say, can't you be quiet? Why can't you sit still? Why do you have to be so loud? Can't you just read a book? Why do you have to do cartwheels all over the house? And why can't you be more like your sisters? And I heard that year after year after year. And as a little girl, you tell yourself there must be something wrong with me, or I must not be good enough if the way I'm being isn't making my dad happy. And somewhere along the way, I squashed who I really was. And I allowed myself to live like that for a long time. And I would not be loud or not be as energetic. And it wasn't until I realized as I got older and started taking some self-development courses and just did my own personal growth that I began to realize that who I was as a little girl was my true self. That was who I was. I was talkative. I was energetic. I had a lot of energy and I had a lot to say. And I finally allowed who I was to start coming through as an adult. And I gave myself permission to be that and do that and show up that way that I tried to show up as a little kid. And little by little by little, I was able to lift some of the heavy veils that I carried around my whole life of I'm not good enough or I can't let my true light shine. And I think that's what allowed me to write 6 books and have the kind of business that I have, because I know I have something to say and I just, by golly, do it with a lot of energy. That's just who I am.
I love it. Well, and I love that because you know what? I was the same thing too. I was loud and I was running all around and I was performing for everybody who would even pay one bit of attention to me. Here's the thing. I think it's like when you get to the place where you know who you are and you're willing to tap into that and bring forth that authenticity, then you get to make a difference in the world. And so I love that you're doing that. And I love that you share about sales as the way to keep your business alive.
Yeah,
Right.
it's really
I
the
want to
only
talk
way.
about say it again.
It's really the only way. I don't know any business that stays in business because they have a good marketing program.
Right.
You have to close business.
Right. So I want to talk about value because when you were working with us on creating and marketing and selling some of our products, you talked about the fact that the greatest thing is to let the people know what the value of your product is and why it supports them. And can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, value is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, which is you need to add value, you need to provide value, you need to talk about value, but nobody really shares what that value is, what it looks like, how you can bring it into your sales conversations, how do you weave it into when you're promoting yourself or talking about your business, all the way to asking for the business. So value is in the eyes of the beholder. So a lot of women think they know what their value is and they try to push that value on someone else when value is really what the other person values about what you do. So you can tell someone that we have the most cost-effective prices, but if that doesn't have any value on the other person, then there's a disconnect. Or if you say that we're the best in the business and we're the #1 search engine optimization company in Denver. Well, big deal. If I don't want to work with the #1 company, that's not value to me. So value is how you show up, how you talk to people, how you ask them questions. What kind of questions do you ask them that open them up, that get down under the surface of what they need and want in what it is that you offer? Value shows up in the way you listen to someone, the way you look at someone, the way you answer someone's questions. And it's being in the moment with someone. It's allowing that authenticity of that human to human connection and relationship click in. That's value to someone. Someone leaves a conversation saying, I like the way she communicated with me, or he was so amazing. He asked me some questions that no one's ever asked me before. That's what value is. Value isn't saying to someone, my program's valued at $6,000. That's not value. That's just you telling someone what you think your value is. So value is one of those much bigger conversations that I probably could talk about for the next 3 hours. But I always tell people, think about the value you bring in the way you are being with someone and how you're connecting, communicating, and engaging. Because people will pay big money for the way you engage with them.
Absolutely. So I would like for you to just talk to the woman that's looking at this podcast that um, is afraid to ask for their value, is afraid to really bring to their voice what their product is and why it's important for people, because some of us are so intimidated by the word selling that we just withdraw and withhold. What do you have to say to those women?
Wow, what's dropping into my head to say is that stop making it about you. Is get yourself out of the way, because sales isn't about you. And if you feel afraid to ask for the business or afraid to talk about your value, then that means you're letting your doubt and your ego get in the way of a beautiful flowing conversation. So I would say get out of your head and get into your body. Get out of the mind that wants to tell you, don't do sales. Sales is wrong. Don't talk about yourself. Don't promote yourself. That's your ego's way of keeping you safe and stuck. And I would say, get into your body and feel that life force that's in there and open that up to having a great conversation with someone else who may need and want what you have. And how dare you shut that off when somebody is looking to you to potentially do business with you. You owe it to them to open yourself up and not be afraid to give them what they need and to have that heart-to-heart conversation with someone. So get out of your head and get in your body, and get out of your mind and get in your heart. And that will allow you to stay connected to who you are and have that wonderful conversation with someone.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So you are a solo entrepreneur, and I just would like you to talk about it a little bit, because, people have this fantasy, oh, I'll just have my own business and then it'll all take off and it'll all be great. And I would like for you to talk about the ebbs and the flows of being a solo entrepreneur and how you manage that.
Whew, like I'm managing it right now. There's a lot of ebbs and flows, but I also did a lot of work on myself as I was growing my business and understood that there will always be those. And an ebb and a flow isn't a bad, an ebb isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's nature's way of saying, what haven't I looked at in a while that may need some attention? Or what am I doing in my conversations or my networking or my marketing that may need a little touch up or a little tune up? So not to look at them as, oh my gosh, something is wrong, but to look at it as, where can I do a little bit better so I have less of them, or the ebb isn't as drastic. And for me, with the work that I've done, I really have a deep trust and faith in myself that no matter what happens, even a COVID-19, I have the skills to move my business in a couple of different directions. I can pivot, I can twist, and I can turn. And I think those are the skills that would help people, is tapping into some of their other ways to be creative, in other ways, instead of just taking one lane. There's quite a few lanes, and to open up to that and see what drops in, because there's not just one way to earn a great living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a final question, but first of all, I would like for you to tell our audience a couple of your books. I know they're on Amazon,
Mhm.
and also how to find you, because someone I think could probably use you.
Well, yes, they can find them on Amazon. And my book, the last two that came out was a book for women called Sell Without Selling Your Soul, and the other one is The Heart of Authentic Selling. Both books go much deeper into what we talked about today and get into some examples and ways to not feel like you're the stereotypical 80s and 90s 1990s salesperson, and step into the modern way that people sell today. And they can get a bunch of information on my website at lizwendling.com.
Beautiful. So the last question I have for you is the same question I have for all of my guests. What do you think is the one thing women should know about awakening?
Is they're in control of turning on the light switch, is to let their light shine brightly. And I talk to so many women who feel like their light has either even just been snuffed out, or it's on really low and faint. And only they can start that and light that light. And as soon as they do, even just a little bit, they start to begin to see those ways where they can start to reconnect to their authentic self and soul. And when the light goes on, it's an opportunity to see things differently. So even if the light is a little dim, you can still see, but I challenge you to just lighten it just a little bit more and see what else is available. And then a little more, and then you get to see even more.
Oh, thank you, Liz. I love your exuberance and your enthusiasm and your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Cynthia. I love you.
Love you too. So, ladies, thanks for being here, for joining Women Awakening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, come back often. We add content quite often. What I want you to know and remember is that you're extraordinary, that you are unique, and that you're on this planet at this point in time for a very important reason. So bringing your gifts, turning on that switch, standing in the power and the presence that you are is essential. I love you, and we'll see you next time. Many blessings.